The year is 2025. The global economy is intricately interconnected. Yet, the United States, a titan of industry and trade, has embarked on a bold strategy: tariffs. These taxes on imported goods are designed to protect American industries and bring back jobs. This move, however, has ignited a fierce debate. Are tariffs the key to restoring American economic dominance, or are they a dangerous gamble that could backfire? This essay delves into the complex world of tariffs, examining their potential to revitalize the U.S. economy and tackle the looming national debt. We will explore both the promises and the potential pitfalls of this controversial economic policy. Join us as we navigate the intricacies of international trade and their impact on our daily lives. Tariffs at their core are a simple concept, a tax levied on goods imported from other countries. This tax makes foreign goods more expensive for consumers, theoretically encouraging them to buy American-made products instead. The intended result? A surge in demand for domestic goods, leading to increased production and, ultimately, more jobs for American workers. However, the reality of tariffs is far more intricate than this straightforward premise. While they might offer a temporary boost to certain industries, tariffs can also trigger unintended consequences. Prices for consumers could rise, potentially hurting those who rely on affordable imports. Retaliatory tariffs from other countries could damage American businesses that depend on exports. The question then becomes, can tariffs deliver on their promise of economic revival without causing more harm than good? History has shown that trade wars often lead to economic downturns, affecting global markets and international relations. Small businesses and workers are often the first to feel the negative impacts, with layoffs and closures becoming more common. To truly revitalize the economy, some argue that investment in innovation and new industries might be a more sustainable approach. Ultimately, the goal is to create a balanced and resilient economy that benefits all Americans. The allure of tariffs rests largely on their perceived ability to revive struggling industries and bring back manufacturing jobs that have moved overseas. By making foreign goods more expensive, the hope is that American companies will gain a competitive edge, leading to increased hiring and a revitalized manufacturing sector. However, this optimistic outlook often overlooks the complexities of global supply chains. Many American businesses rely on imported components to manufacture their products. Tariffs on these components can increase production costs, making American goods less competitive, not more. Additionally, automation has significantly reshaped the manufacturing landscape, meaning a return to large-scale factory employment is unlikely, even with tariffs in place. While tariffs might offer a temporary reprieve for some industries, their long-term impact on job creation is debatable and likely to be limited. Economists argue that tariffs can lead to trade wars, which may harm the broader economy. Consumers often bear the brunt of tariffs through higher prices on goods, which can lead to inflation. Small businesses in particular may struggle to absorb these increased costs, potentially leading to closures and job losses. Instead of relying on tariffs, investing in innovation and education may offer a more sustainable path to job creation and economic growth. The United States faces a daunting national debt, and some proponents argue that tariffs offer a potential solution. By generating revenue through taxes on imports, the government could theoretically chip away at the debt burden. However, a closer examination reveals the limitations of this approach. While tariffs do generate revenue, the amount collected is often dwarfed by the sheer scale of the national debt. Furthermore, tariffs can indirectly harm the economy by raising prices and potentially slowing growth. This slowdown could offset any revenue gains from tariffs, making a significant dent in the debt unlikely. Relying solely on tariffs to address the national debt is akin to using a band-aid on a deep wound. A comprehensive approach involving spending cuts, tax reforms, and economic growth is crucial for tackling this complex challenge. Additionally, international trade agreements and cooperation with global partners can play a significant role. Investing in innovation and new industries such as technology and renewable energy can also drive long-term economic growth. Education and workforce development are essential to prepare the next generation for a rapidly changing economy. Addressing social issues like healthcare, housing, and community development can create a more resilient and inclusive economy. Ultimately, a multifaceted strategy that includes both domestic reforms and international cooperation is necessary to effectively manage the national debt and ensure sustainable economic growth. One of the most significant concerns surrounding tariffs is their potential to destabilize the global economy. The imposition of tariffs can trigger a chain reaction, with countries retaliating with their own trade barriers. This tit-for-tat escalation can disrupt global supply chains, increase costs for businesses, and ultimately harm consumers worldwide. History provides cautionary tales of trade wars leading to economic downturns and recessions. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, for example, is often cited as exacerbating the Great Depression. While the global economy is more interconnected than ever, making a direct comparison difficult, the potential for tariffs to trigger economic instability remains a serious concern. Experts argue that modern economies are more resilient but also more complex, making the impacts of tariffs harder to predict. International cooperation and dialogue are crucial in mitigating the adverse effects of tariffs and ensuring economic stability. While tariffs carry significant risks, they also offer potential benefits. In certain circumstances, they can be used to protect strategic industries vital to national security, or to shield domestic businesses from unfair trade practices like dumping, where foreign companies sell goods below cost to gain market share. Additionally, tariffs can incentivize domestic investment by making it more attractive for companies to produce goods within the country. This, in turn, could lead to innovation and the development of new technologies. However, these benefits must be carefully weighed against the potential costs and unintended consequences of protectionist policies. For instance, tariffs can lead to higher prices for consumers as the cost of imported goods rises. This can reduce the purchasing power of households and potentially slow down economic growth. Moreover, other countries might retaliate with their own tariffs, leading to a trade war that could harm global trade and economic stability. The United States has implemented tariffs on various goods in recent years, targeting specific countries and industries. These tariffs have had a mixed impact on the economy, leading to both job gains in certain sectors and price increases for consumers. The ongoing trade disputes and negotiations create uncertainty for businesses, making it challenging to plan for the future. Small businesses, in particular, feel the pressure as they navigate the complexities of new trade policies. Consumer advocacy groups argue that tariffs ultimately hurt the average consumer. Meanwhile, government officials continue to debate the long-term benefits and drawbacks of these tariffs. Tariffs are a blunt instrument in the complex world of international trade. While they hold the allure of simple solutions to complex problems like job losses and trade imbalances, their actual impact is far more nuanced. Tariffs can create winners and losers, potentially offering a boost to some industries while harming others. The decision of whether or not to implement tariffs requires a careful examination of the potential benefits and drawbacks, taking into account the specific circumstances of the industries and countries involved. Ultimately, the question remains, are tariffs a necessary tool for protecting American interests, or are they a dangerous gamble with potentially devastating consequences? Historical data shows mixed results, with some periods of tariff implementation leading to short-term gains but long-term economic challenges. Additionally, tariffs can lead to higher consumer prices and strained international relations, complicating global trade agreements. In an era of rapid technological advancement and global supply chains, the effectiveness of tariffs as a protective measure is increasingly questioned. As policymakers debate the future of trade, the need for a balanced approach that considers both immediate and long-term impacts becomes ever more critical. Gap 3S. When sanctions are imposed, the immediate question often is, which country will suffer more? Historically, sanctions have proven to be a double-edged sword, affecting not only the targeted nation but also those imposing them. Take, for instance, the US sanctions on China. Economically, China may experience short-term disruptions in its export markets and supply chains. However, the ripple effects can also reach American consumers and businesses, leading to higher prices and supply shortages. Politically, the targeted nation often retaliates. China, for example, could respond with its own set of tariffs or by restricting access to essential raw materials, such as rare earth elements, which are crucial for US tech industries. This tit-for-tat escalation can lead to a trade war, affecting global economic stability. Historically, sanctions have sometimes backfired. The U.S. embargo on Cuba, initiated in the 1960s, has yet to achieve its intended political objectives, but has caused significant economic hardship for both nations. Similarly, the sanctions on Iran have led to economic struggles, but have also fueled anti-American sentiment and strengthened hardline positions within the Iranian government. In essence, while sanctions aim to pressure a nation into compliance, they often come with unintended consequences. Both the imposing and targeted countries must weigh the economic impacts, potential political responses, and historical lessons before embarking on this precarious path. Additionally, the global community often gets involved, with international organizations and trade partners weighing in on the sanctions' broader implications. Humanitarian concerns also arise, as sanctions can lead to shortages of essential goods, prompting international relief efforts to mitigate the impact on civilian populations. Ultimately, the goal is to find a balance where the intended political pressure is applied without causing undue harm to innocent civilians or destabilizing the global economy. As the world watches closely, the critical question remains, will Trump back down on his tariffs, or is this another scare tactic? The political theater surrounding tariffs has always been volatile, with high stakes for global economies. For Trump, tariffs have been more than just an economic tool. They've been a cornerstone of his political strategy, aimed at renegotiating trade deals and bringing jobs back to American soil. But will these tariffs succeed in the long term? The reality is complex. On one hand, tariffs can potentially protect domestic industries and create jobs. On the other, they can lead to higher consumer prices, strained international relations, and retaliatory measures that could escalate into full-blown trade wars. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy. If successful, it could redefine the global trade landscape and strengthen America's economic position. If not, the consequences could be dire, leading to economic instability and a loss of global influence. As we move forward, the decisions made today will ripple through economies and lives worldwide. The stakes have never been higher, and the world holds its breath, waiting to see if these bold moves will pay off, or if they will lead to unforeseen challenges. Only time will tell if this approach will bring about the desired change, or if it will become another chapter in the complex history of global trade policies. Experts argue that the effectiveness of tariffs depends on various factors, including the resilience of domestic industries and the responses of international trade partners. Additionally, the global supply chain's complexity means that tariffs can have unintended consequences, affecting industries and consumers in unexpected ways. As policymakers navigate these turbulent waters, the balance between protecting domestic interests and maintaining global trade relations will be crucial. The future of tariff policies remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the decisions made today will shape the economic landscape for years to come. As the United States forges ahead with its aggressive tariff policies, its allies find themselves at a crossroads. Countries traditionally aligned with the U.S., such as Canada, the European Union, and Japan, are grappling with the implications of these tariffs on their economies and political alliances. The once unshakable bonds are now tested, leading to unexpected shifts in global alliances. Canada, for instance, has imposed retaliatory tariffs on American goods, signaling its discontent and aiming to protect its own industries. The European Union has taken a similar approach, targeting a range of American products from motorcycles to bourbon. These measures are not just economic responses, but also political statements, underscoring the growing tension between the U.S. and its closest partners. Meanwhile, some of these allies are turning their gaze eastward, exploring deeper economic ties with China. The world's second-largest economy has been quick to capitalize on this opportunity, offering trade agreements and investments that could potentially replace American partnerships. For instance, the EU and China have been working on a comprehensive investment agreement aiming to foster closer economic cooperation. Japan, too, has been negotiating trade deals with other Asian countries, including China, in an effort to mitigate the impact of U.S. tariffs. South Korea is also looking to strengthen its economic ties with China, seeking new opportunities in the wake of U.S. tariffs. Australia, traditionally a close ally of the U.S., is exploring closer economic relations with China to offset the impact of tariffs. This realignment could lead to a more fragmented global trade system, with new alliances forming and old ones weakening. The response of U.S. allies to the tariff policies is not just about economics, it's about the shifting balance of global power. As these nations navigate their paths forward, the world watches closely, aware that the decisions made today could reshape international relations for years to come. The question remains, will these new alliances endure, or will they be temporary measures in a time of economic uncertainty? Only time will reveal the true impact of America's tariff strategy on its global standing and relationships. History has shown that trade wars can have long-lasting effects, often leading to economic downturns and shifts in global power dynamics. Experts are divided on the potential outcomes, with some predicting a resurgence in domestic industries, while others foresee prolonged economic instability. The interconnected nature of today's global economy means that the ripple effects of these tariffs will be felt far and wide, influencing markets and trade routes across the world. As nations adapt to these changes, innovation in trade technology and automation may play a crucial role in shaping the future of global commerce. Ultimately, the hope is that through dialogue and cooperation, a more balanced and fair global trade system can emerge, benefiting all parties involved. As the tariff policies ripple through the global economy, the impact on various U.S. industries becomes increasingly evident. Some sectors find themselves on the losing end, while others stand to gain from the protectionist measures. First, let's consider the industries most negatively affected by tariffs. The American automotive industry, for instance, relies heavily on global supply chains. Tariffs on imported steel and aluminum have led to increased production costs, squeezing profit margins for car manufacturers. Companies like General Motors and Ford have already voiced concerns about potential job cuts and reduced investments. Another sector feeling the pinch is agriculture. Farmers across the Midwest have faced retaliatory tariffs from China, leading to a significant drop in exports of soybeans and pork. This has forced many to seek government aid to stay afloat, highlighting the vulnerability of the sector to international trade policies. On the flip side, some industries are experiencing a newfound sense of protection and potential growth. The steel industry, which had been struggling against cheap foreign imports, now sees a resurgence. Companies like U.S. Steel have announced plans to reopen mills and hire more workers, buoyed by the protective tariffs. Similarly, the solar panel manufacturing industry has benefited from tariffs on imported Chinese panels. Domestic producers have seen a boost in demand, fostering new investments and job creation within the sector. However, the outcomes are not always straightforward. For instance, while the steel industry gains, downstream industries that use steel, such as construction and appliance manufacturing, face higher costs. This could lead to increased prices for consumers and potentially slow down growth in these sectors. In the tech industry, the picture is mixed. While tariffs on Chinese electronics components have increased costs for companies like Apple, the push for domestic manufacturing could lead to innovation and new job opportunities in the long run. Yet, the transition period is fraught with uncertainty and potential disruptions. As these examples illustrate, the landscape of winners and losers in the tariff game is complex and multifaceted. The long-term outcomes will depend on how industries adapt to the new trade environment and whether further policy adjustments are made to address the unintended consequences. What remains clear is that the ripple effects of tariffs will continue to shape the U.S. economy, influencing everything from job markets to consumer prices. Small businesses, often the backbone of the American economy, are also feeling the effects. Many small business owners are grappling with higher costs for imported goods, which can lead to tighter profit margins and difficult decisions about pricing and staffing. On the other hand, some entrepreneurial ventures are finding new opportunities in the shifting landscape, particularly in tech and innovation hubs. The renewable energy sector, including wind and green technology, is also seeing a mix of challenges and opportunities. While tariffs on imported components can increase costs, the push for domestic production and sustainable growth is driving innovation and investment in these areas. Ultimately, the effectiveness of tariffs in bringing jobs back to the USA will depend on ongoing economic policy discussions and trade negotiations. The resilience of the U.S. economy and its ability to adapt to these changes will play a crucial role in determining the long-term impact of these policies.